Hey, yeah, what's up? This is Disciple Marshall Occurrence. Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-America all day, and everybody with them. Yeah, so this message is going to be about following God is not a behavior club. Following God is not a behavior club. It's not a behavior club. It's not, following God is not you trying to be on your best behavior. I have to say this because Christianity in America is reduced down to a behavior club. It's all about you being a nice person, a sweet person, a positive person. That's what it's all about. When you have to engage a real enemy, real spirits and principalities, and they're talking about behavior. They're talking about you being on your best behavior, which you're capable of doing, understanding that yourself when you go out in public and your personal life with God. You don't need nobody to tell you that. Let's put it like this. It's more important for them to be addressing the wickedness and the spiritual warfare in those elements more than something you could figure out on your own with your own common sense. You don't need somebody to tell you to be a nice guy when you go outside. I mean, you got preachers that's making whole messages on you being a nice guy. You don't need nobody to tell you about being a nice guy. You need messages letting you know who the enemy is and their strategies and this crazy, funky stuff they doing out in this community. That's what you need. You need a preacher and a minister telling you that 40 states allows children to have sex. You need preachers to make important the issue of black on black crime when black children are being killed and black people are contradicting themselves, going out, starting Black Lives Matters, talking about these police shooting people, but they won't talk about the ghetto shooting people. You don't hear them talking nothing about that. It's quiet as a church mouse when you start talking about black on black crime in the neighborhoods. But when you talk about a police shooting one person, the whole nation is just is sitting around eating chicken waiting for the person to get locked up. But when we talk about kids being killed in the hood, no one wants to talk about it. I'm showing you the destruction. Why do you have the destruction that you have? Why they talking about Bay Behavior Club at your church? They talk, well, why there being a behavior club at your church? Why they talking about your behavior at your church? Why they talking about your emotions and your nice behavior at your church? Don't get me wrong. I respect people who tell people the character that they should have, the fruit that they should bear. Don't get me wrong. That's good. That's important. But you have to also be balanced and preach the reality of the environment that you're in that's war torn. You're in a war torn reality right now. While you're waiting for some type of chaotic insurrection, it's already war torn now. It's war torn right now. Just because your building don't have holes in it doesn't mean it's not war torn. This country is now reduced down to the status of a third world country because of the evil that they're doing. The evil that they're doing, the rejecting of God, has now reduced them in the spiritual world down to a third world country status. That's why you have all this stuff happen. You got people killing their own kids. You can see it on the news every month. Every month now in America, people are killing their own kids. Their own kids. And you trying to catch a pedophile. While people are actually killing their own kids. But see how that ain't what they want to hear. Because that ain't what they want to hear. Because that insults their community. That insults their who they are. They want to look for the weirdo that doesn't fit in with anybody. That's who they want to persecute. While they got people killing their own kids. You see any protesters? You see anybody talking about the kids being killed by their own parents? You see anybody addressing this issue? You don't. It's war torn already, man. I'm trying to show you. Okay, so this behavioral club, this cult behavioral club, is what I believe they're basically preachers that, especially when they get to a mega status, and I'm not targeting all mega churches, but these churches are in the sight of the government. Okay, you got a mass movement, you're influential to the nation, and they're watching what you preach. They're watching, whether you believe it or not, they're watching what you preach, they're watching your movement. And if you notice, the bigger the church becomes, all it becomes is a behavior community. It's all about the behavior. It's all about how you behave. It's all about you being of your best behavior. Have your tie straight. You know what I'm saying? But they're not addressing the American community allowing children to have sex in 40 states. They're not addressing the black on black crime and the kids being killed as a result. None of these churches, these mega churches, are doing that because they're under the control of the government, and the church and the government can then manipulate that situation to where now you're being influenced by these mega churches because they have national influence. Therefore, influence over you. So you're being influenced by the mega churches even though you don't go to it. It's affecting your Christianity, and all you talking about is behavior. Something you can figure out on your own. You can figure this out on your own. And that's what they're talking about. Okay? And so the government controls the Christians. That's why you don't see no Christians like Jesus. Jesus would be talking about all of this black on black crime, all of these issues that's going on in the community. He would be talking about all of it. But he definitely will be addressing the killings, the losing of lives. I mean, what's more serious? That's a state of emergency. That is a state of emergency that the African American community has swept under the rug. They're sitting on the whole state of emergency. Why they trying to cancel your favorite comedian? Why they trying to cancel your favorite actor and actress? Why they trying to cancel people? They sitting on the whole state of emergency. They sitting on the whole emergency, and the preachers, the black preachers, are not talking about that emergency because it's not popular, and people begin to think you're opposing them like they simple. How am I opposing you? Telling you about black on black crime? You a simple-minded person. Let's just call it what it is. You are simple-minded. If you cannot understand that I'm telling you that people are dying, and I'm addressing that as an issue, and you take that as offense, you are a simple-minded person. I'm calling it what it is. You're a simpleton. You are a simpleton. When you can't differentiate the difference between addressing issues in the community than real hate. Real hate. I don't know how you expect it to change. I don't know how you expect it to change when the behavior clubs are not telling you about it. The greatest force in the world should be the body of Christ. And the body of Christ in America is not talking about the black on black crime. You got some preachers here and there, but I'm talking about the mega churches. I'm talking about the people with influence. They are not talking about straight on whether it sounds cool or not, whether it's hip or not, or appealing or not. They are not talking about the black on black crime in the American community. They're not telling you that 40 states allows children to have sex. They're not telling you this. All they telling you is to be on your best behavior, and that's why some people believe religion is nothing but control. This is why. Because of the behavior club. It's not because they address issues. It's not because listen to me now. It's not because religion address issues in the community. They don't see that as control. What they see as control is the making people humble and blind to see what's going on with the government. These churches are not telling you this. These preachers are not telling you this. And people believe that the government is making us humble like sheep, blind as bats to what's going on. This is part of what I call the behavior club. You're just going to church and becoming a part of behavior clubs that are not relevant to the issues that's going on in your community. They're irrelevant clubs. It's sad. It's very sad. And it's not everybody. And like I said, it's not every mega church, but it is many mega churches with mass movements that reduce themselves down to a nice attitude on the job, having a good attitude at work in the workplace. Stuff you can figure out on your own. I mean, come on now. You can't figure out how to be a nice guy at work to keep your job? You can't figure that out on your own. Okay, I don't want to say you're simple, but you should be able to figure that out on your own. I mean, you gonna be a bad? Come on, man, that's common sense. What, you gonna be a jerk? You gonna be a jerk on the job? That's what I'm telling you. You gonna be a jerk throughout society? You just gonna walk around being a jerk. So you're already as a human being conscious that you need to not be a jerk. Okay? You need to be loving, kind, have goodness, faithfulness, self-control. You know about all these things. If you look at each of the fruit of the Spirit, you already know. I mean, your common sense is going to tell you to be these things. Common sense is going to tell you to do that. Your conscience is going to tell you to do that. I like to tell people your conscience is a moral compass. It's a moral compass. Your conscience is a moral compass that God gave you. He gave you your conscience, and that directs you moral-wise. Your conscience is going to help you to do the right thing and to be in the right behavior, to have love, goodness, faithfulness, kindness, and all that. Your conscience is going to tell you, is going to lead you in that direction. You don't need people to sit up and make and establish a whole ministry about you have being in your best behavior and having a good attitude. You need people to start movements to stop this black on black crime and to stop this American foolishness that's coming from the government. To stop people like Trump. To expose that he intentionally delayed his response on COVID to get reelected so he can come in and fix it, and you will all want him reelected as a result, and it backfired. He thought it was going to be like a swine flu, and it was bigger, and it got out of control, and he quietly sidestepped what he was doing or swept under the rug what he was doing and went with something else. Okay? I'm trying to show you American Christianity, these mega churches, many of them are influenced by the American government. They're manipulated by the American government. Don't preach this, don't preach that. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. When Jesus would be preaching these things, Jesus would be addressing the foolishness that's going on in the government. Jesus will be addressing the black on black crime, whether black people like it or not. Jesus will be addressing black on black crime and the foolishness in the black neighborhoods, whether they thought he was a sellout or not. And they wearing crosses. That's what I'm saying. You wearing crosses, but Jesus will be addressing all the stuff you're doing. Okay? And another thing for the black community, you got to understand what side of the law God is on. God is not about crack selling. I'm just saying. I've sold crack in my past. Okay? I'm not trying to act like I'm better than you. But God is not on that side of the law of illegal activity in any form or fashion, whether it comes from the American community or it comes from the American government. We got to address both, and you got to realize there's both. There's American illegal crimes going on, trickling down from the American community trickling down from the American government into your community. You esteem the American government as holy. That's your problem. You think they're righteous. You think these presidents are great and good. You don't really believe they would do you some wrong, do you? You don't really believe it. You halfway believe it. I'm going to show you how most Americans are. You halfway believe it. But you don't fully believe behind the scenes they're doing something totally evil. You don't believe that. You think it's halfway crooked. You don't think there's people conspiring and doing nothing but evil. I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's somebody, obviously. It's obviously somebody. It's obviously somebody. When you look and you see that this community in this America, even up until the last days, African Americans have not been set free from bondage. That's the saddest situation in the world. The world is going to end with them in destruction. But you can't blame the American government totally, because at some point, the black on black crime, the black leaders they should have stepped up to the plate and addressed it and handled it and chastised their people. And so I can't feel totally like, the bondage wasn't self-inflicted at some point, but this is what we are. Now you got, preachers not even caring about any of this. They're not even addressing now The new thing is now parents are killing their children. This wasn't going on like it was, like in the past. This was not happening like that in the past. This has been going on recently. This recently has been going on. People killing their children. You don't hear preachers talking about it. You don't hear any of your leaders talking about it. And I guess people are just comfortable with what it is. And I guess they think that, long as they're good, but you're not good because God's judgment is coming. Now it's here, and now you're talking. Now you're trying to figure out, why did this happen? It should be no mystery when people are killing their own children. This is the level of evil you're at, whether you want to accept it or not. And this is what I'm talking about as far as what preachers do not preach. They don't show you the levels of evil that's in your environment. Jesus showed the levels of evil of things around. You don't even know, a lot of Christians out here, you don't even know how dangerous it is. You don't know about the gang stalking. You don't know how this gang stalking caused COVID-19 to come. You need a preacher that keeps your ears, that has his or her ears to the streets, in other words. You need preachers that have their ears to the streets, that knows what's going on. You understand? Because I know that I have my ears to the streets. I know the wars that's going on that you don't see. That's having your ears to the streets, is knowing the politics that's in your environment, knowing the wars that exist around you, knowing what people are engaged in war about. That's what I'm trying to show you. You got to have your ears to the streets. Your preachers got to have their ears to the streets. You can't be having them on to just be a nice guy. You got everything falling around you and stuff going crazy. They need to be able to talk to you about gang stalking that's going on in America. People in the dark, the underground internet, the dark internet, doing what flash mobs used to do. Flash mobs would text each other, connect with each other online, and meet each other at certain times. That's what gang stalking is, nothing but flash mob warfare. People meeting at certain places, doing things at certain times. It's like a flash mob. An army of flash mobbing. You need preachers to tell you this so you can understand the energy around you. You become spiritually high ranking and don't realize now you're being gang stalked by Americans. Why they trying to tell you to be on your best behavior? You being gang stalked. You being gang stalked while they trying to tell you to be a better man and a better woman. That's what I'm talking about. There's gang stalking in America. You Christians need to look it up and take it seriously and stop thinking everybody that talks about gang stalking got mental sickness. Everybody that talks about gang stalking is not mentally sick. If you want to look at the past, basically people that conspired against people, even if it was Martin Luther King Jr., that was gang stalking basically. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, Edgar Hoover, who was in office when Martin Luther King Jr. when Martin Luther King Jr.'s movement was moving, he gang stalked basically Martin Luther King Jr. This is what I'm trying to show you. He conspired against him. He watched him. He watched him and lurked, sent people around everywhere he was going, and then sent tapes to his wife of him having an affair, which is totally irrelevant information to what he's doing. An affair didn't contradict what this man was saying. Okay? It didn't contradict him fighting for black rights. Now that's between him and God. Now that's a whole different situation. Between his situation with him and God was a whole different situation. Okay? But this does not give the FBI a reason to gang stalk that man. All right? Okay? So they gang stalked him. That's what they did. Malcolm X, same thing. And now it's more sophisticated to now where you have community involved, you got community that gang stalks, you got sound campaigns, they do sound campaigns, all different types of noises and stuff to play with your brain. Basically, they form a war against your brain, all around your brain. You have to be aware of this. Okay, this is real, whether you want to believe it or not. Just like they conspired against Martin Luther King Jr., there would be people that would have doubted that. I don't believe that's true. Christians back there, I don't know how true that is, but it happened. You have to realize how deep conspiracy is in the American culture and community, and how they're conspiring right now and gang stalking Christians specifically. These evil forces want to fight Christians.